This episode contains mature language and situations. Listener discretion is advised. You wake to the sound of a train. The clack, clack, clack of wheels. In the distance, is that the sound of birds in a forest? No. It's angels in a choir. Or is it demons from hell? It doesn't matter. You have no memory of how you got here. All you know is that you're lost, and that now you belong to the Grey Rooms.
Why hello roomies, and welcome to episode 17. The end of the line is in sight, and only a few more stories left in this season. They say that you can't be too careful with your company, especially when you find yourself in certain places, like the rooms. Author Seth Augenstein tells us what happens when we ask the wrong questions at the wrong time. So without further ado, please enjoy episode 17.
Day 10. I've been trapped on this train for over a week. Every day it's the same thing. Either me or my companions must choose, then we die. Zukk is handling him better than most. He is a soldier after all, but Findley? He seems more frantic. His brain's a bit more rattled each time. It may have something to do with him being more machine than man. There's no other way to explain it. Each train car exhibits significant signs of being larger on the inside rather than the outside. Looking out the window, it's painfully obvious. The scene is too perfect. Outside appears to be a hellish landscape similar to trips I took to the Cairo wastelands. The set pieces are like an elaborate stage play or projection that...
Zukk, what the hell?
Imani, get back. I bet they're carrying Findley back towards the front of the train.
Let me go! I know what you are! I know where I am, God damn it!
Shut the hell up. Can't we throw him off the train?
Not our call. Where's Danyelle? You know we cracked your code for you! What more do you want? What more do you want?
They're gone. It's clear.
What the hell was that about? Who's Daniel?
I don't know. I noticed it the last few times they brought him back. Every time he goes through one of the doors, he comes back either completely zonked or raving like a madman. Something different is happening to him. Wait, do you see that? There in the hallway?
Is that Findley's recorder?
I guess. I pretty much threw mine away when I got it.
I've been using mine to keep track of some random things I've noticed around here. My head always feels like mush when I get back from one of the platforms.
Survive, evade, resist, escape.
What?
It's a saying that my mercenary crew adopted. Basic instructions on what to do when captured by enemy forces.
How much of your life do you remember before waking up on this train?
I'm not sure. I know my name and what I do for a profession, but beyond that, it's hazy. Just bits and pieces.
Give me the recorder. Let's see what's on it.
Imani, Zukk, I don't know how much time we have left, or if you'll even receive this message, but I'm out of options. My name is Dr. Findley Montgomery. I'm a cybernetic researcher and a genetic modification specialist. My life's research was dedicated to prolonging humanoid life and integrating technology with biological tissue. A few years ago, that goal was redirected to another, creating an artificial soul.
Did he just say...
An artificial soul?
Every attempt to harness the power of, contain, or create a soul failed. There were rumors that some of the more extreme religions went through unconventional measures to stop such a process from occurring. I needed funding for my research and turned to organized crime to fulfill the darker aspects concerning my projects. A local crime boss named Ripper supplied me with test subjects, equipment, and kept me off the authorities' radar. I, in turn, provided him with cyber enhancements and repairs. Thousands of life forms were sacrificed in the name of research. Thousands of souls were lost, mutated, or destroyed. Then, a true disaster. Admiral Beckett burned through our sector as his crew slowly took over the 12 galaxies.
Admiral Beckett. Was he some kind of space navy commander?
Admiral David Beckett was a legendary tyrant that conquered the 12 civilized galaxies. It took a large-scale rebellion to finally destroy his regime and eliminate his bloodline. I thought this was common knowledge.
I was busy fighting for my own existence from unknown interdimensional threats. Sorry my civilization couldn't build a moon base big enough to impress Supreme Captain Dave, Lord of the Spacefish.
Fretus.
Excuse me?
My people are known as the Fretus, not fish. We're not the only intelligent aquatic race on Virex. The Beckett clan used us as frontline soldiers until we finally resisted.
Whatever. Hit play and let's get through this.
Ripper came to warn me that trouble was on its way when the Admiralty soldiers attacked. The resulting fight took the only thing I cared about as much as my research. My son, Danyelle. Danyelle was my assistant, but more than that, he was my last reminder that underneath the circuits, I was still human. He shared my love of research, and was more obsessed than me with the desire to be the first to harness the power of a soul. He was the one that discovered how to use the power of the occult to overcome my scientific faults. Together, we created the first machine to trap a human soul. Unfortunately, it cost him his own.
Well, what in the hell is going on in here?
I was about to ask you the same thing.
You don't get to ask me anything right now, meat sack. Something's come up, and it's time for one of you to pick door 1 or door 2.
So soon after Findley?
Findley didn't produce the desired result on his last trip through. We had to hand him over to management.
Management?
The people who run this shit show. You want to meet the warden? Or maybe the...
That's enough, Kryze.
Fine.
Bottom line, it's time to choose. Who's next?
There's something that's bothered me about you.
And what's that?
Your face.
Oh, that's fucking funny right there. I think I see your eye twitching under them bandages.
I know your face. I've seen it before.
Hey, stop!
You move from the floor, bitch, and I'll rip your thin skin from your bones.
We won't need either of you to choose who's next. We have a volunteer. Come along, Zukk. It's time for you to go through another door.
What's with the titles on these doors? Falling or Bequest? Who comes up with these goofy names? What'll it be, Zukky?
Suck my...
If you don't choose a door, I can't guarantee that anyone will be in a safe place when you wake back up. You think dying inside the doors hurts? Wait till it happens out here.
Fine. Don't think this is over.
What's with the guests and these attitudes? Have all the attendants had this problem?
With him, it doesn't matter.
You still mad at what he done to you?
He didn't do anything. I don't enjoy the games of mortals. Things tend to get messy.
Oh, I like it when you talk rough and scary. Let's see if we can work out this frustration in another way.
Another time. We need to attend to the good doctor and find out why his memory walls are not holding.
Yeah. Work.
God damn it, I don't know why you built the damn thing. What is it, some kind of weird fire pit? And why do we need that up at the cabin? And why the hell would you take the kids there this time of year? My wife kept talking in my ear, impassioned about something. I held up my finger to the prison guard staring at me, who was holding out the plastic tray. Honey, I have to go now. Let's talk about this later. I'm in the prison. I'm heading into the interview. Sure. Yes. I clicked a button and ended the call. I checked the phone and my keys and my wallet into the tray, keeping my notepad and pen. I showed my press identification card. Michael Screven, reporter. The Murray Ledger and Times.
So, you're here to see the Scried Piper, huh? What you gonna ask her?
Well, Officer Jones, I plan to be the last one to ask her where she buried the children before she's silenced forever.
You're from Murray, you said? I bet you'll be asking about the Ellen Kinder case, then.
That's right, sir. That's our local Piper case. That's what our readers want to know about.
You asked me. I say don't let this woman get any more laughs in this lifetime by playing her games. Just let those secrets go to the grave with her. Takes a special kind of woman to get executed in Kentucky.
I shrugged and they ushered me through door after door. The hallways were drab and gray, resembling nothing so much as a school. A school of utter finality. The place to learn society's ultimate lesson. The twists and turns we took were head-spinning. Finally, we reached the death row waiting room. I recognized it from all the broadcast TV interviews with the famous Mary Agnes Breagadoir over the years. A simple, bare room like a cafeteria. A white waiting space in the heart of death row.
Death row, such as it is. Kentucky ain't executed anyone in the 21st century. No women in more than 150 years. It really takes someone SPECIAL to check both them boxes.
Indistinct singing echoed faintly down the hallway, as if on cue. It was impossible to make out the song or the voice at first, but gradually I picked out a familiar melody, and that melody was punctuated by a rhythmic clinking of shackles.
My fishing poles broke, the creek is full of sand. My woman run away with another man. No matter how I struggle and strive, I'll never get out of this world alive.
And then she appeared. The Scried Piper. The feared and reviled Mary Agnes Breagadoir, convicted on 7 counts of homicide, and due for death row in a mere 90 minutes. Breagadoir was actually vaguely pretty, with a pert little nose and full lips and a reddish head of hair which had grayed to downy tufts, the bangs plastered down over her brow. But no one with a keen eye would dare call her attractive in any way, with that grimace and her constant sneer. The reason the national media had been on the Breagadoir case from the first day, through the years of appeals, was the opportunity to show this duality. This pretty but ugly woman, this caregiver who had doled out nothing but destruction and pain, and this sometime fortune teller who'd apparently never seen her own end coming. She also had a self-assurance about her that enraged the God-fearing Christians of Kentucky and beyond. With that verve, that je ne sais quoi, she reached out 2 thin fingers towards Officer Jones. Rolling his eyes, he pulled out something and stuck it in her hand. It was a cigarette. The guard leaned over and lit her smoke as she greedily inhaled.
God, that's good. You know, they let you smoke as part of your last meal. Couple of Marlboros, that's all I wanted. Otherwise, I just had some leafy greens and a glass of water. Just something to tide me over on my way.
She smiled, and her teeth, though a bit yellow, were perfectly straight. This smile, which I'd never seen before, was uglier by far than any of her sneers or grimaces. She looked like a different species of human altogether. The guard walked toward the door and out, as had been agreed. The convicted murderer's eyes, like a lizard's, flicked quickly back to me. They blinked with a disturbing slowness.
So tell me, your name is Screven? What kind of name is that?
They tell me it's Irish, just like yours. And I'm with the Murray Ledger and Times, as you know.
Why did you ask to steal some of a poor woman's final breaths?
The editors all thought it would be a good idea to get you on the record about the Ellen Kinder case. So they sent me.
The editors thought it would be a good idea. But you don't.
To be honest, Miss Breagadoir, I don't believe coming here and asking you some penny-ante questions about a 20-year-old case at the 11th hour is going to enlighten any of us.
Oh, don't be so sure. Maybe I've seen a lot of God. Need to confess my sins while there's still time. Maybe I'll tell you where the children are.
You're going to tell me where you buried the bodies? She leaned forward. Our faces were 2 feet apart. Her perpetual sneer reasserted itself.
Let's talk a bit, see where we get.
Though my heart hammered at the turn the interview was apparently going to take, it quickly settled. A Scride Piper, the most hated woman in Middle America, merely gave the same answers to the same basic questions that she'd given to hundreds of reporters before. Number of victims, 7. Names of victims, Thomas Mainsey, Louis Friend, Margaret Bentham, Aileen Washington, Benjamin Raspill, Deirdre Evans, Ellen Kinder. How did she know them? They were all the children of clients at her small fortune-telling business. The timeline of the crimes, the years 1991 through 1996. Modus operandi, the children were all contacted first at Breagadoir's fortune-telling establishment in downtown Murray. Follow-up contact was made outside schools where the killer is believed to have lured the victims into her station wagon with the lie that their parent was in trouble. The physical evidence used at the trial? Trace DNA spattered all over bathrooms, crawl space, even the stove and cookware in the Breagadoir home. Strange scorch marks were found at these locations, but no actual bloodstains were detected. Method of capture? She turned herself in on the 7th anniversary of the last killing of Ellen Kinder in 2003. She also pointed out the trace evidence when authorities visited her home. Location of victims' remains? Unknown. Breagadoir never told. Motive? Even less clear. These last 2 topics she dodged, just like she had for nearly 2 decades. So yet again, you're not going to answer the questions everyone's been asking. With a great rattling of the shackle and chains, her hands grabbed my hair. Pain shot through my scalp, and she yanked my face up to hers. I smelled the leafy greens on her breath. I thought my heart would cease to beat.
Well then, Mr. Reporter, I guess you better start asking the right questions, right?
She whipped my head back, and I sprawled back in my chair, waiting for the guards to come in, but there was only silence. I glanced to the corners of the room, but there were no surveillance cameras.
Oh, they're not going to babysit you. They gave me this hour, and I bought them off. This time is just for us.
And that's when she pulled out 2 objects and slapped them on the table. One was a nasty-looking shiv made with duct tape and dull metal. The other was my cell phone.
Now, can we have our little talk?
What do you mean?
I mean that I can finally tell my story, and you will write it down for posterity. I set the record straight and die. You get your Pulitzer. Now ask your questions.
I stared at her, dumbfounded, and she picked up the shiv, a nasty blade of the hardest plastic with an ergonomic duct tape handle. She ran the point over her finger. Blood leaked from the tip. She dripped some on the table and then sucked it with a smile.
Now don't disappoint me, Gumshoe.
What heat source made the scorch marks? She looked dumbfounded by the question. She put the shiv down. She raised her hands and started a little slow clap.
You really did your homework. Now here comes the answer, direct from the murderess herself. Oh, I hope there's ink in that pen, Screven.
Where are the bodies? Tell me. Tell me now, goddammit. She waggled her finger at me, then tapped on the shiv.
Easy. We'll get there in a little bit. Let me start at the beginning.
She pulled out a pack of smokes from somewhere and then a lighter from seemingly out of thin air, and she smoked lustily.
I'm gonna miss Marlboros more than sex. But where was I? Yes. I was born in Massachusetts, raised just south of Boston. Only child, raised by working-class parents who never much cared for me. They said we were all descended from the Mathers, Cotton and Increase and all those Christly criminals. Oh, something was definitely in my blood from the start. From my earliest memories, I always had the gift of seeing into the future. My study of the occult was not so much rebellion at my ancestry as it was destiny. A man I knew from school lured me by mail down below the Mason-Dixon when I was only 16. He was a professor of ancient Levant history at Murray State University. We married the same week as my arrival, and the week after that, he started hitting me. When the doctors said I was infertile, he hit me harder. He died after the 3rd year. They found him in the garage with a gaping saw wound in his neck. Pathologists ruled it a chainsaw accident, self-inflicted. Right.
She giggled a bit. I merely nodded. I'd seen the tales of abuse and knew that no matter what happened, wife-beater John Breagadoir indeed had it coming.
Penniless, with a family that would barely remember me back in New England, I decided to start a local Kentucky business. Fortune-telling was my only skill, so I went with it.
How did you do?
I made ends meet. I tucked away some savings.
No, I mean, could you tell the future?
You do pull a good question out now and then, don't you? What I've been told by my clients is that I was 100% correct in steering them away from their abusive husbands and high-risk investments. So anyway, things were going just fine, stable and all that, when Tommy Mainsey walked in with his mother.
What was different about Mainsey?
Oh, the mother had typical problems, the usual alcoholism, and utter meaninglessness racking her life. But there was something different about that boy. I saw immediately when I looked into his eyes. They were just a different color or something. Maybe a yellowish tint in certain lights. But it wasn't just that. It was a life, an essence. Even after all these years, I still can't explain.
So what happened next?
What happened is that I took him away so his mother never saw him again. He was 14, and I was still kind of a looker back then, still in my prime. He was really interested. He was really forthright. A horny teenage boy. So he asked me if he could meet me one night at the edge of Chestnut Park. We did our thing, and that was it.
See, you're not telling me anything that wasn't said in court. But she leapt out of her chair, the shackles falling to the ground, totally undone, her limbs totally free, and grappled my arms. The shiv appeared in her tangle of fingers. I tried to knock it out of her grasp, but she raised a knee right into my groin. Pain doubled me over, and she knocked me atop the table, laying down over me. The blade was at my throat. I must say, despite the pain and the ridicule and the terror, it was almost erotic as she whispered in my ear.
I didn't tell you that the next time he came to my house, the only thing I took from Tommy Mainsey was his virginity. All I did otherwise was give him a new existence, a new name. He lives in Cleveland. He works as a carpenter.
She licked my neck, causing me to shudder with revulsion.
None of them are actually dead, you know. I can tell you everything.
She released me. I leapt up, but instead of making for the door, I lunged at my pen and pad.
Oh, yes. I knew it was just a matter of giving you half a nugget. A tiny factoid that would have you groveling. Scribble quick, reporter boy. What I'm saying is that none of these children who I supposedly murdered are even dead at all, in the truest sense. They all are living their best lives out here in Middle America. Thomas Mainsey is Tommy Breeder. Louis Friend is Lou Breeder. Margaret Bentham is Maggie Breeder. Eileen Washington is Lee Breeder. Benjamin Raspill is Ben Breeder. Deidre Evans is Dee Dee Breeder. No one ever finds anyone who doesn't want to be found in Middle America.
And Ellen Kinder?
Little Ellen is a special case.
She dropped her head back and blew smoke straight up at the ceiling. Seizing my opportunity, I grabbed the shiv off the table and held it up in front of me. She finished exhaling. Her head dropped back down and she stared at me. She smirked.
What are you gonna do, kill me? What would I lose? An hour of life I have left? Please, honey. Just sit down. I'll tell you what this is all about. We've had our fun. Let's get down to brass tacks.
She wiped the bangs from her brow. There, bloody and raw, was the symbol. The 7 snakes, in 2 concentric circles. My breath caught in my chest. My heart stopped. It was the same pattern my wife Elle had tattooed on her shoulder. The one my wife had always said was some kind of Celtic symbol.
Oh, it looks very familiar, doesn't it? Some Celtic symbol, right? Hardy har har. Put aside the questions, reporter boy. Now, let's talk about those scorch marks you were asking about before.
My mind whirled. The room spun around. She described the burning marks found in strange places. Under the kitchen counter, on a bathroom tile behind the toilet, within a musty stained trunk, and yes, within that stove. It was as if the scorch marks marked something important on those very spots. There were 7 of them, of course, and those were the precise locations where they found the trace DNA of the missing children. So is that some kind of twisted tribute to these kids you killed?
Dead is not dead, that's what I said. Those children are my inheritors. They're out there making their own way. I only had to show them.
What the hell do you mean by that? And why did you carve my wife's tattoo into your forehead?
When I said I came from the Mathers and all those Massachusetts witch hunters, you understand, it was they themselves who were the biggest witches of all. America was built on witchcraft. The Mathers and their ilk were so powerful, they were never even detected by their own brethren. Their trials and persecutions merely deflected attention from their own practices. Oh, let's just say I carried on the family business, so to speak. Those children, every single one of them had the spark. They had that same look that the Mainsey boy had in his gaze, in his heart. That's what Moloch has always looked for throughout history. All I did was help them set that hungry gaze free. It took some blood, yes. I had to place them on a tiny altar. An altar of cleansing fire.
My stomach bottomed out. Her voice was pure evil. It seethed with an import that was not imprisoned at all. Her coming execution had clearly no bearing on her existence, I realized. My flesh crawled on my bones. I felt I would melt right into the floor. My eyes burned and I had to shut them. But still I kept on writing, transcribing as many of her terrible words as I could before she would be put to death.
Those children were earmarked to Moloch, and they were given to Moloch, as was their due. They walked through the smoldering coals of Gehenna, and they came out the other side stronger and better for it, purified by the flames.
Moloch.
Moloch, the oldest antagonist of all, head of a bull, belly of cleansing, sacrificial fire. Oh, Google it later, reporter boy. If you've ever read the Old Testament, you know about the God of whom God is jealous.
So these Breagadoir children, as you call them, Where are they now?
They are among us. They are mechanics and accountants. One a drug dealer. They are husbands and wives. All now have their own children. One is close to you. Very close. And they are readying their own preparations for Moloch. It is the season, you know. Just the right time of year.
Immediately I heard the words of my wife echoing in my ears. Going up to the cabin with the kids. Going to test out the new fire pit I built. It's just the right time of year. I leapt from the chair. My heart could burst.
Oh, yes. Pretty soon you too will be part of the family yourself. Your wife, Elle, and you have, 3 kids? You'll all come through Gehenna together. If you're lucky, here's your phone. Give her a ring.
I grabbed the cell phone off the table and turned it on. I pushed the callback number to try Elle again.
The fire pit your Elle built. It was a strange shape, no? A bull's head, I suppose? The open belly through which to feed the flames? Oh, something tells me you yourself will feed those flames in your time.
I ran to the door and banged on it harder and harder and harder, trying to get the guard's attention as the Scryed Piper smoked her cigarette. Getting up, she approached me, shiv in hand as she sang.
Everything's against me and it's got me down. If I jumped in the river, I would probably drown. No matter how I struggle and strive, I'll never get out of this world alive.
Bequest, written by Seth Augenstein, with performances by E.K. Dagenfield as Michael Screven, Erin Lillis as Mary Agnes Breagadoir, and Graham Rowat as Officer Jones. The Good Doctor was written by Arthur Unk, with performances by Danyelle Ellet as Imani, Jack Carmichael as Findley, Jeff Clement as Zukk, Tanja Milojevic as Kryze, and Brandon Green as Caliban. Musical composition was by J.M. Scherf. Episode artwork, web development, and creative direction by Cassie Perteeth. Social media and Patreon management by Brooks Bigley. Videography is by Hale Scherf. And audio engineering and sound design is by me, Jason Wilson. I had a friend with a stutter who died in prison. He never got to finish his sentence. Yeah. When you lock yourself into a room with Kryze, what do you expect is going to happen, huh? Think Kryze is gonna bake you some cookies? Serve you a glass of warm milk? No. Kryze is gonna stab you in the face and use your blood to write poetry and paint a pretty picture. And we would like to take the time to thank our patrons and any of those who have taken the time to leave us a 5-star rating and a review. Those reviews keep us at the top of the charts and makes it easier for more twisted souls to find the show. Patrons like Bepsy Man, Kale Shade, Doozer Pendon, Ellen Houghton, Eric Pritchard, Eric Phones, Jackal Bot Snows, Lynn Browning, Matthew Smithdeal, Patrick Stewart, Ronan Kumori, and Sean Gary. You can find the Grey Rooms on Spotify, iTunes, or your favorite podcatcher. We're also now available on iHeartRadio's Spreaker app, so download the iHeart Spreaker app today or open the browser and search the Grey Rooms. And we here at the Grey Rooms love our fans and want to give back to you in the best way that we know how. We have a lot of fun things to show you, and we always hope you like them. You can find out more by joining us on social media. You can find us on Instagram, YouTube, Reddit, Twitter, and Facebook. And we took your advice and extended an olive branch to all of the tortured souls who have passed through the rooms. Our emotional support group is always looking to help you with all of your needs. And don't forget about our merch store. It's full of epic designs and logos for you to sport, showing the world that you are a survivor of these very rooms. All of this can be found in the show notes or on our website at thegrayrooms.com. And have you checked out our Discord server? If you only listen to the podcast, you're only getting half the experience. So join for free to hang out with the Grey Room's cast and crew, watch movies, listen to music, or learn to write your very own horror story. Now our community grows daily and you can meet and interact with like-minded fans from all over the world. And we offer top-tier service to our patrons and a personalized demon attendant in our board of directors bathroom. Once again, GreyCon 2022 was superb. Lots of live streaming, lots of live planning for Season 5, which I think is going to be absolutely amazing. I'm pretty sure everybody's going to be just blown away with what we have in store. Thanks again for everybody who came out, and thanks both to Tanner Wood and Rose for joining us from our Patreon family. So thanks again, y'all. Keep your eyes posted. More coming up from the Grey Rooms out and about soon. And also, we will be planning 2023 GreyCon. But this was only episode 17, which means there are still 3 more episodes to be done. I have a lot of work to do, and I'm going to get on it. Until next time, thanks again, and we'll see you next week.
This has been a Grey Rooms production. Copyright 2022-2023. All rights reserved unless otherwise stated.